Hi traders, welcome back. Hope you've enjoyed your weekends, and it's now time just to pick our way through these markets and get prepared for the week ahead. We're going to start with the dollar index, because if the dollar is getting bought, it's a safe haven that shows money flowing out of commodities and equities and into the dollar. Okay, so we've got the dollar closing above the 20 but not above the 8. So that's not convincing. For a convincing strength in the dollar index, we need that to close above 78.80 on Monday. We had 2 weeks back, we had a very big buyer's bar. Last week we closed open and closed right in the mid-range, having touched the 8. The fact we touched the 8 is bullish, and you can see this monthly bar. It's got a stopping bar here last month, and we're beginning to break up through the 8 here and look as if we're heading to 81.8 to retest the 50 EMA. If that's the case, then these markets have got problems. They are potentially in trouble. The 10-year notes, another safe haven, are bought with that's closed above the 8 and the 20. That's, you can see the weekly is very, very strong. It's touched the 8. Closed something of a little hammer there, and the monthly is very, very high. So strength seen in these markets. Let's look across the equities now. All these equities are showing shooting stars, but they've also got the 8 and 20 crossing, and the RSI is not high. And look at that weekly in the S&P 500 futures. That's a very, very convincing close above all 4 moving averages. And the monthly has got a little potential hammer on all the moving averages. So if we break above 1250, then I think we're going to get a move possibly into 1300. So just on the daily chart, we're showing a sell-off. You know, after the non-farm payroll on Friday, it was as expected, but I think the markets were looking for better, and they didn't get it. So short term, we might come down here and retest this 200 EMA, but I think the 200 EMA could well hold. So we might see some early weakness in the equity markets, but when they come down to these levels, they may well hold. We could even find they just do a lot of nothing, and the 8 EMA creeps across. It comes down to touch a level, something like 1232, and then it shoots up. But for this to be a definite sell-off, I would need more convincing. I would need a star at the end of a run, and we're tucked inside the Wednesday's high and Thursday's trading range. So it's not a convincing sell-off, and this is happening right across the markets. We've got the 20 coming through and the 8 coming through the 50 EMA. Decent weekly close again, and that hammer on the Nasdaq. And on the Dow futures, same story. Nice clear 820 cross. You can see this trend line coming right across the top. We touched the trend line and sold off. But I think it is a strong weekly. So for this to, if you go by the daily charts, then we do need to touch lower levels. We are too high, and I think it is a shooting star. So short term, I would expect that to sell. And if we sell and start closing below the 8, then just hold it over. But if we sell and start to hold these lower levels, then you might want to at least scale out and get a stop to break even, and see if you can get a runner on your second half or your last third. So a lot of rejection highs. You can see on this Dow, we've quite clearly touched that trend line and had it rejected, but it's not a convincing sell-off. So the markets are a little hard to call, but on the whole, I do think we are weak. Oil, let's have a look at oil. This is very strong. All touches of the 8 are bought. We had a higher close on Friday, but we've got low volume up here, very low volume. Whenever I see low volume at the highs in oil, I sense that unease in the markets. If you look at the monthly, we're just breaking up through this trend line. So we're looking at a CBO on the monthly chart, 8 and 20 cross here. The oil is very bullish. And if we look at the weekly, we had a nice close of up to 200. So really a pullback to as little as 100 in the oil could be enough for this to see further upside. And in the daily, 140 would be about as much pullback as you're likely to get before further upside. So there is some confidence in the market. The fact the oil can be sustained at that level. Grains, not that impressive. Close above the 8 on the beans. Big gap to 1172 on the weekly chart. The monthly looks as if it wants to come and touch 1050. And the other grains are not a lot different. So very weakness in the corn, but some holding up in the wheat, but not much more. Forex, not a lot setting up. Let's look at the Aussie first. Decent move off these stopping bars right into the highs up here at 103.27. Weekly 50 EMA break, but close below the 8, and weekly, monthly at the moment below the 8, close below the 8 and dropping. So I think we'll come and retest parity. I think we'll come and retest this 8 and 20 break, and then I would expect to see further upside. So that plays out what I'm suggesting in the equities. We might see short-term weakness, but if these levels can hold and get bought, then the markets may move up later in the week. Look at the US dollar CAD. That's a good sign of strength in the dollar. And this is a hammer, close above the 50 EMA, but we've got 8 and 20 cross up here. So I do think the US dollar CAD has got the potential to come off of this hammer and move to the upside. And I think we're going to retest 105. If you look at the weekly, the monthly, we've got a stopping bar on the monthly US dollar CAD, and I think next time we touch that 105, I think we might break it and get up to there, but we're going to struggle if that oil stays strong. Hence the reason why the weekly is not convincing. So it's not a great hammer because the 8 and 20 are over the top of it, but I also need a big stop on it. But I do think that US dollar CAD could move to the upside. Let's have a look at the 4 hour on the US dollar CAD. Yeah, the 4 hours had a hammer down there at 101.36, but lower resistance at 102.30 on the 200 EMA.